Catherine. Some of you might recognise me from my page Maternal Mental Health Project. So I started that page just before a documentary got released last year called Mothers on the Edge. It's filmed with Louis Theroux, and he wanted to make a documentary that shined light on postpartum mental illness. At the time, I was in the mother and baby unit with my son Jake, and we had a 4-month stay there, and during the stay there were some quite difficult scenes that were filmed. I attempted to take my own life while I was in there, but I think it's really helped shine light on maternal mental illness, and it's really helped a lot of other mothers come forward to admit their struggles or go and seek help for postnatal depression. So during my stay I was also diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, so that's taken quite a lot of getting used to and just learning about my illness and managing my emotions and instability and unhealthy coping mechanisms. But I'm not really here to talk about that today. So Return to Strength asked me to share my experience, and they wanted me to talk about a time where I found my strength after a really difficult situation. So they are an absolutely incredible platform. The work they are doing is amazing. They are building a community and a brand to bring further awareness to mental illness and support those people who suffer with mental health problems. So the last 2 years since the discharge from Mother and Baby Unit have been quite a roller coaster. Lots of emotional instability, self-harm, general irritability. There's been suicide attempts, lots of unhealthy coping mechanisms, relationship struggles, you name it. It's just been, all over the place really. I was diagnosed recently with a mental illness called PMDD, so that stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's quite like PMS really, except it's got the symptoms of depression and emotional instability and suicidal ideation and self-harm. It's quite a serious illness, and it usually occurs every single month and coincides with your ovulation, your periods as well. So for me personally, I really struggle around ovulation. I can spend up to 5 days in bed unable to function. I can't get up, I can't brush my teeth, I can't have a shower, I can't talk to anyone, I can't leave the house, as well as the physical symptoms of chronic fatigue, muscle weakness. Sometimes I feel like my calf muscles ache so much, like I've done a marathon, or my stomach's like I've done 1,000 sit-ups. So as well as that, I get really extreme moods, and I don't want to be here anymore, and I can't see a way out, and I just get so low and depressed that I usually think about ways to end my life. So it could be really debilitating, quite crippling, incredibly frustrating to deal with for me, so, and also my partner as well. So this usually happens, I think I'm very sensitive to the crossover of estrogen and progesterone. So usually when that happens, it can be literally overnight where, I'm absolutely fine the next day. It's just out of nowhere, I'm like, I don't want to be here, I want to end my life. And it's so extreme that it really does knock me off my feet. So at its worst, I can spend 5 days in bed. Then for the 2 weeks up until my period, I'll be in a state of quite a low mood, very anxious, constantly question everything, get upset very easily, very irritable. Everything seems like it's just either not working or going wrong. And then my period will arrive, and my mood will just switch instantly, and I'll be incredibly happy. Everything's back to normal for 2 weeks. I always think that I kind of get manic a little bit. I mean, my mood goes through the roof. I'm really happy. I'm buzzing off life. I achieve so many things. My God, there's been jobs I've applied for. I've wrote spectacular posts on Instagram. I'm firing on all cylinders basically. And part of me thinks that is because I just know that I'm going to have a really difficult time during ovulation, and the next 2 weeks are going to be pretty much a write-off. So it does make being employed very difficult as well. I mean, no employer is going to want to employ someone who can only work for 2 weeks every month. So that's been quite a challenge recently. So I mean, I only really noticed it in lockdown, when I had a really, really difficult few days, and it got to the point I was actually writing suicide notes, and that really did shake me up. And my partner was locking the door, he wouldn't let me out of the house. he was hiding on medication because it was just quite serious, really. I remember dragging myself into the kitchen and thinking, my God, what's wrong with me? Why am I here again? You know, what is going on? And I just remember thinking that, you know, oh, we've been here last month and the month before. So I've got a period tracker app which I keep religiously up to date, and I opened it and I managed to piece together, you know, dates and symptoms and signs, and it was quite a revelation to realise that when I had an episode back in January as well, I was admitted to a hospital for a brief period of time. The very day I was admitted for a suicide attempt was the day I was ovulating. So it was a huge revelation to think, oh my God, this is not me. You know, I haven't completely lost it. There is an explanation for this, and I managed to piece back the last 2 years, and every single time that I've been really struggling was related to my ovulation. I was either due to ovulate a few days either side of something and a serious incident that happened. So, you know, this was huge to me, and I had such a case that I presented to the doctors, and she was lovely and she agreed with me, and you know, she did suggest a couple of avenues, but they were all kind of medicine related, which is something I really didn't want to go down because the pill had quite negative effects for me before. So since then we've tried to take quite a holistic approach to it. We just manage it better. We know when it's coming. I can plan to take some time out. I try to eat better, try to get exercise, sleep as well. It's, you know, all the usual things that everyone tells you to do, whereas I really have to keep on top of it. I can't really let anything slide because the alternatives are quite bad. I had a really, really difficult few months over the summer, and I just think, you know, I just don't want to live like this anymore. And instead of using unhealthy coping mechanisms, I started to channel all my energy into baking, especially during ovulation. I would just drag myself into the kitchen and throw myself into making some spectacular looking cakes. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know. So this actually really helped me, and I used to show them off on Instagram. People were like, oh, you know, you should think about starting your own business. So that's exactly what I did, and it's been such a wonderful thing, and it's helped me find my self-esteem and my confidence. And I also discovered writing, and I share all my experiences and my baking with everyone on Instagram, and I've received some really positive feedback, and sharing my experience of PMDD has, you know, really connected me to a lot of other people who also feel exactly the same. So that power of not feeling so alone and isolated with it, you know, it does absolute wonders to restore parts of my mental health. So I think I've really found my strength, and I decided to start my own business, and that actually opened a couple of weeks ago, and it's called the Mental Health Bakery. So I really want to encourage baking for mental health, because I think, you know, you don't have to be fantastic at baking, you just have to follow a recipe, and following the recipe is quite therapeutic in general. So I think once you start to do that and you produce really good results, and something might not look the best, but usually they're always quite tasty, you know, I think that really does help boost your confidence hugely. So I just want to use this as well to help lift other people up and help show them, you know, that you can live a life with mental illness. I mean, I'm diagnosed with an eating disorder and a borderline personality disorder and PMDD, yet I can live a full life. And I think it's all about kind of managing expectations, managing your perspective, becoming quite aware of your emotions, your triggers. I mean, you don't have to change the way you deal with your emotions, but I think the first step is becoming more aware of them, managing to label them, how they feel in your body, having a bit of a strategy or a coping plan. I'm a big fan of a mental health toolkit, so just having all these on hand can really help, you know, you to live the best life possible. It's not all or nothing having a mental illness. You know, it doesn't have to be what feels like the end. You know, this can be the actual start of the rest of your life, and I just want to say that, you know, recovery is possible. You know, things can and they will change.
You know, every emotional state is only temporary. It sometimes doesn't feel that way when you're in the midst of something really difficult and quite traumatic and distressing, but once you come out of it and you start to feel better, you can look back and see how far you've come. And I think that is when you can really realise that you've returned back to your strength.